What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLAG.
And I'm NB.
And we are recapping and reviewing You, Season 1, Episode 6. And it's called Amour Fou, which translates to Crazy Love.
So crazy right now. And don't forget, guys, stick around for our ending because we are going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our best lines, our MVPs and LVPs of the episode. So stick around for that.
And for all our continuing listeners, thanks so much for coming back. And for anyone that's brand new, thank you guys for finding us. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Let us get into it, though.
Let's get into it.
What do you think of the episode? Episode 6, halfway through the season.
Holy effing crap.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe this happened in
right
episode
quick.
6 because I definitely thought that it would happen later on in the season.
Mm-hmm.
But as you were saying, too, like, there's still so much more to the story to cover off.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely so much more.
This episode was major. Huge scene that happened in the book as well. Mm-hmm. Couple of different things that happened.
A lot of different things, actually. Not just a couple.
We can talk about that after, like, towards the end. But yeah, I think it was a good episode. And it mostly just takes place in the Hamptons.
Yeah, Greenwich.
The Greenwich.
The one thing that I will ask you right off the top, and I really want you guys to comment as well, any listeners, do you think that the show currently is going a little too fast?
So, I know you asked me this question too offline. When I first watched the episode, I was like, damn, this is so fast. Mm-hmm. But then when we were talking about it more, and I'm like, no, there's still so much story to cover off. So like, I feel like they had to get to this point in this episode.
I just remember there's a lot of build up and lead up in the book and the only reason why I'm going to say that it feels a little too fast, and that's why I want to know your guys' opinions on it, because I know the characters pretty well, just because we read the book.
Do you? You know them?
I know them super well.
You have them on Facebook?
Yeah, we added each other. I just wanted to know, like, do you feel like you're sitting long enough with these characters? Because I just feel like in the book, you get a good understanding of the relationships and they're developed well enough. Like, when whatever happens at the end of the episode, do you would you have felt a different way if you had maybe another episode with Shay? You know what I mean? Or Peach?
No, and I think that's what I think when I kind of sat with it more, I was like, you know what?
I
think I was ready to be done with Peach. I don't know what else more they could have shown you to be like, this is Peach. I think they kind of just, I think they just kind of showed you who she was. They showed you what happened with them in the woods, and they just kind of presented Peach right there and there. And I think that's it. I think if they prolonged it even more, would it have added to anything? I don't think so, because we know who Peach is already, right? Like, we didn't need any more.
That's true.
But they did add a major confrontation that happens at the end that wasn't in the book,
that was not,
that I really appreciated too. So thank you for bringing it all together faster, and also giving us that scene too. So
we'll talk about that a little bit later.
But I appreciated it.
Okay, so let's start right off the top, and it's Joe, and he's talking about the fact that he hasn't seen Beck in 3 days. This is after the attack on Peach, and she is back from the hospital, so she's with Beck right now with Annika and Lynn as well, and they're just chilling out in her place. Joe comes in and he's a little concerned because he doesn't know what he's walking into. He's like, am I walking into a setup? Like, does she know? Why haven't you contacted me? He's very concerned, and so he comes in with a little balloon, and they're just chilling out, and already you can tell that there's it's very much like Peach's world. So, and Beck is literally at her beck and call. I wonder if she did that on purpose. Caroline Kepnes, beck and call. So Beck answers the door and she looks at Joe's face, because you also have to remember last episode he got his face broke up by his neighbor who beat the F out of him.
He looked like shit this episode.
Right.
Joe looked really bad.
Yeah, he looked like a monster, basically. And I think that is the point of this episode, is seeing visually that he's just really fucked up, just as messed up looking physically on the outside than he is on the inside.
So do you think it's weird? So he walks into this apartment, and he was honestly really cute in this moment too. He brought a little cute balloon, he was super cute. And then he walks up to Peach, and then she's like, I know what you did, or
I know what you did last summer.
I know what she acting as
she
if
says it was you.
Knows.
She was like, it was you, I'm on to you. But it's...
I hate when they do shit like this.
I mean, she did it, and then like right away he turns and he's afraid.
Like, oh my God.
He's like, oh, I'm scared.
And then she's like, you knew that I had a stalker.
Thank you so much for helping
so
me.
My question to you is like, this whole time she's been sketched out by him.
Yeah.
And like she's the number one, like, you know, Joe hater.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now she's like, I have a stalker. I know it's not you, Joe. I love you now. She's like, who is it? I wonder. Your face is beat up.
That's the thing. I wonder if she says it just to add like an extra line, and so you feel the tension as a viewer and a watcher. I don't remember what happens in that moment.
I'm just saying, I feel like it's a little unlikely that in that moment, after everything that's happened to her, like she's just like, yeah, Joe's good now. Like, I have a stalker though.
And then that's
like, don't you look at this guy and be like, he's the only like new addition to my life? Like,
right. No, I guess here's the thing. The thing that I love about this whole story, and we'll go back to it by the end of it too, is she's so self-involved. You have to remember that Peach is so selfish, and she's so self-involved that she's so unaware of anybody else. She sees Joe as so beneath her that she couldn't even fathom the fact that he could even think of trying to attack her. You know what I mean? She doesn't think anything of him. So for her not to be suspicious of him in that regard, it makes sense to me. But I know what you're trying to say. It just doesn't seem like he would have done that. But so but you can tell that there's still a lot of tension between the two of them. So Beck offers to make some tea. And she's like, Joe, do you want some tea? It'll help your face heal or something. I don't know.
Some ginger honey tea will heal those scars.
Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm good. But then he stares at Peach for like 2 seconds. Like, okay, never mind. I'm going to come with you.
Yeah.
So they go to the kitchen and they just have a really quick like couple talk. He's like, how long is she going to be here for? Like what's her deal? This is what I mean. Like, he was so effing cute in this moment. And this is the part that like sketches me out the most. He's like, he's so normal sometimes. Yeah.
Like the things that he was telling her, and he's like, you know, it's just not good to be in this situation. Like, don't let her like latch on to you. Like the things that he was saying was so like logical and caring and concerning. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like he's so normal sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
He approaches certain
cute,
situations in a very honest way, like a boyfriend would, but he just takes it to like
crazy
25th step. So this was a great interaction. So while they're talking in the kitchen, Peach comes in. It's actually one of my favorite scenes because she walks in and she says to Beck, just based on what happened to me, I don't think that I want any male energy around me. Could you ask Joe to leave?
So tight.
And Beck even says, she's like, Joe can hear you. He's literally like, standing right beside you. And she's
not looking at him. Like, she's just looking at Beck.
Yeah. And she's like, I don't want any confrontation. She's like, and tell him to take his present with him. Like, it was such a cheese moment. I was dying of laughter because I'm like, she's such a biatch. Like, I couldn't even deal with her. Yeah. And clearly, like, Joe's just over it. He doesn't like her. They're never going to like each other. And it just keeps showing whenever they're in the same room with Beck how tense things are. Things just get so tense. Like you're right. She starts the conversation off thanking him for being the one to find out that she had a stalker. But then like 5 seconds later, it's like, get out of my place. I don't want to deal with you.
Not even my place. Like it's her place.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and it's only because she sees how close he's getting to Beck. All those moments, she's like, no, I don't want you to be here. And of course, because Beck is feeling guilty, she forces him to leave.
She's like, yeah, bye.
And so he leaves and he's like, this is like a situation that I'm like, and he's really frustrated. I think as Beck is like walking back into the kitchen or walking out of the kitchen, he notices that in Peach's bag, which is at the front, there's tickets to Paris, and he's like, "Oh hell no, bitch! Like you're taking my girl."
Who prints her tickets nowadays?
It says, like, first of all, print the tickets, and
it'd
also
like
like it says like Guinevere on the top, like open bag. Like girl, I don't even understand why she's just having them sit there. And the funny thing that killed me too is like she doesn't even tell Guinevere, like she doesn't even tell Beck until they're at the cottage. So it's like all those days later. Anyway, whatever. So he sees that, he's like, oh hell no. He's like, this is war. You're trying to take my girl?
Yeah, like this is gonna end now.
Exactly. Then it cuts to Joe walking down the street, and Paco's like, Joe!
Oh god.
Like, I don't want to talk about
I hope
Paco
this kid's
anymore.
a ghost at this point.
I don't think he is. That's the worst part about it. So he hugs Joe and he apologizes profusely for the 50th time because he's a dumb kid.
Yeah.
And we see a new character. His
mom finally emerges from their apartment.
Yeah. So she's like, run away, mija. Like, go back inside, mijo. Sorry, she's a boy.
He ain't a girl.
So she comes down the stairs and she brings Joe like a brownie or like some special cookies or something. And she just says, thank you so much. Like
I owe you this.
I owe you this. I owe you something.
Yeah.
You know, I appreciate the fact that you're not going to go to the police. Well, she kind of goaded him. Like, she was trying to trick him into, not trick him, but she was saying, like, urging him not to. Like, you know, we're working on stuff. Things are going to be okay. And he says, like, people are never going to change. Like, so even in that moment, you can see Joe's mindset and how he sees other people in the world. You know, like, as we know already, Joe is very, I wouldn't say, like, yeah, I think he has a bit of an ego and he thinks that he's a little bit better than everyone else.
For sure.
And that's why he's able to judge everyone so harshly.
I definitely think it's too because of like the way he was raised. Probably I wouldn't be surprised if like his mom screwed him over at some point, or she left, or she was dating someone else who was there's a connection to his life too. I feel like in that moment too, where he's like, people don't change.
People don't change. Yeah. He's always going to be a piece of POS. Like, maybe he had an abusive stepfather or father. So that moment happens because it's setting you up for something that happens later in the episode, and it cuts to the bookstore. So Beck goes in to see Joe, and she's like, "Oh, Peach is getting hurt like an IV drip, like a special vitamin IV drip across town, but I just wanted to come see you." And he kind of like, so they have a bit of a tense moment. So she says, "I'm gonna go to Greenwich, which is where the Salinger estate is," and he's like, ugh, like in his mind, he's not saying this to her, but he's like, of course she's taking you away from me, da, 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 da. And he kind of has like a quick moment where he says, she's using you. I hope you realize that.
Yeah.
And Beck kind of gets frustrated. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he goes even further and says, she's in love with you. Like, she's actually obsessed with you.
Were you shocked that he said that in that moment?
No, I don't think so, because I think he's trying every single card possible to bring her in, keep her there. But she's so naive and she's just in so much denial that, you know, she doesn't think anything's fishy. But he does lay it down. He's like, she just got bashed in the head. You know, you guys just had a huge fight and all of this is happening at the same time. Like, she wants to steal you away. Like, it's just so convenient. That being said, he does blame himself for the attack not working out the way it was supposed to work out because of that. He's like, damn it, I like basically threw her to you, you know, like,
because he couldn't kill her fully.
He couldn't kill her, and now she's going to be more needy to Beck, and Beck is going to have to stay with her. So he's a little frustrated about that. So he's like, okay, so she leaves, and then he goes to the basement and quickly starts to Google the location
of her house.
Yeah. And he does mention Candace. He's like, I love road trips. He's like, Candace and I used to travel all the time. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to come see you. I found it via Google, whatever. He found the estate, and he just starts driving. He's driving Mr. Mooney's car, and he's in such a rush that he crashes.
He hits a deer or something?
No, he just like swerves and then like crashes.
He's also like, guys, he's also like really injured. Like, he hasn't gone to see a doctor yet. So his head's like pounding, or is it after
No, that's a little bit later. No, this is way later. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So first, he's still injured because he's like all broke up from the fight, or the guy that beat him up.
Yeah.
But then he just gets into an accident, I guess, assuming that he's in a rush.
I think he started seeing things too. Doesn't he see Candace at some point?
I don't think he sees her until after the car crash. So right in this moment, he crashes, and then she shows up in his dream. He's like, what are you doing beside me? And she's like blowing bubbles or something like that. And he wakes up and he's in the car. So the one thing that I will say is, in the book, they make it sound as if he crashes in a very bad he gets in a very bad accident.
That's what I was waiting for. I was like, yo, his car like flips over, he's like stuck in a ditch. Like, so that's what I remember the accident being.
I am trying to remember.
And the car doesn't work anymore. That's what I remember.
Yes.
He has to leave the car.
He literally has to leave the car.
And he's like near death.
And the police even like drives him to a certain spot, and he has to walk the rest of the way. So you have to imagine that this whole situation with him getting his face all mashed up happens in the car accident. So like, he gets even worse off. That whole, because as we mentioned last episode, that whole fight scene with his neighbor, does not happen in the book at all. Instead, I'm pretty sure what happens is, and I don't want to spoil it if it does happen later, but Ethan is supposed to be a character that is, Ethan is his bookstore employee.
Friend, yeah.
And in the show, it seems that he's a lot more, like, he's like a cooler guy. In the book, he's like a big stoner. You know, Joe talks ish about him all the time. He's like, he's such a loser or whatever. It comes to a point where he fires Ethan for being incompetent. I think it's because he gives away an address or something. He does something foolish that pisses Joe off to, fire him. And so he fires him, and his friends come into the bookstore in the middle of the night and beat Joe up. While this is all happening, he does go to drive to see Beck at the same time. And I think that's why he's in a rush to get to her. I think they just gave, and I think I mentioned it last episode, that I think they gave that whole beat up story to the stepdad. And that being said, I don't think that's the last we're going to see of the stepdad. Right. So anyway, so that's kind of what I remember from the book. I don't remember if it happens a little bit later. And I don't think they're going to create Ethan as like a villain in this story, because it's like a little too late for him to be bad in this in this part of it. So anyway, what happens? So he wakes up and the car's not messed up. He basically, it looks like pretty perfect. It's like perfect condition. Considering he bashed his head in to the steering wheel, I was like, oh, there's not even a dent in this car. Yeah. So that's why I also thought it was weird. So anyway, the cop comes up and Joe's like, if I get caught, like, this is over, like, I'm done. But why? But like, I wanted to ask, why do you think that he thought that it was going to be a big situation if he like? Because
the car's not registered. Like, he's pretending to be this like rich kid from Connecticut or whatever, wherever he's going to Greenwich. So that's his story. If they run his plates and they see that this car belongs to some old man in like New York, like it just might not make sense. He doesn't have a license on him. Like, he so said his name. Just like he made up his name when the cop came over to him. Like, he just looks shady.
So you're just saying because he doesn't have his like G license, like he can't be driving the car.
I guess like he doesn't own the car, right? Right. And he's saying he's so and so from Greenwich, Connecticut. Yeah. Like, he's not.
I think there's more details in the book, honestly. I think like he took the car without asking Mr.
Yeah,
Mooney.
I think like, he takes the car. Like, I don't think he's allowed to. Like, there's more to it. Right. But anyways, the point of the scene was that like the cop is sketched out a little bit, and he's like, okay, give me your like information, and then Joe like, kind of gets into like his whole thing. Yeah, he actually sees Benji's watch. I think, or he doesn't see his watch.
He notices his watch while he says like he was robbed, and he's like, "Wow!" He's like, "It's a good thing that like you at least
didn't take your watch." And he's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "They don't know."
I got lucky or whatever.
Yeah, they don't know the value of these things or whatever.
But it also shows how cunning Joe is.
No, for sure.
He's
like
very cunning.
He looked like scaled him up and down, and he was like, my family has like a boat in the summer, like we always like go on it. He's like, you can come like next summer for sure. And the cop's like, oh, okay. He's like, you can go now on your way, and like he gets away with it.
Because I also think in the book there's like he takes him to a bar and they have like a conversation, and then he gets like derailed.
He spends more time with the cop. I think. But what happens right at the end of the scene actually is the cop, as Joe is driving off, the cop still writes his license plate down. Yeah. So he's still like shady. He's still like, I'm sketched out by this guy.
So then it cuts to
do you find it like a little unbelievable that this guy gets away with like everything?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, I'm like, too much.
Joe's great and all, but I don't think he's that smart.
Like,
he's not like talented Mr. Ripley up in here.
Yeah, I could have skipped that whole police scene, but I guess they had to put the police into the storyline at some point. So that
I just wonder where they're gonna go with it.
It's just like he gets away with like too much. Like, this guy should have been like a freaking secret agent, like at this point, you know, like 007.
Honestly, between that and like him hiding in during that whole scene with Beck. Like, two episodes ago, like what's happening? So he's like like that's what I mean. He's like touched by an angel the way he gets away with shit. Yeah. So then it cuts to Peach and Beck, and this is like the next morning, and she's like, "Hey, Beckelisma, like, want to come eat?" And Beck's like really weirded out because Peach is in a very good mood. And
there's like breakfast all over the table. She's
those
like,
waffles
what?
Looked amazing. Like, I was so into it. I was like, I want to eat that breakfast.
Like, how dumb can you be to not notice that your friend wants to fuck you?
here's the thing. I think that
she's so stupid, and I feel like I see this every episode. Like, Beck, you're so dumb.
Yeah.
She's like, oh yeah, okay, full breakfast, cool. Nothing weird about that. Oh, you want to go shopping? You never go to department stores. Yeah. Cool. Like, she says them all. Like, she's saying it. She's like, oh, you never want to do that though. And then she just goes and does it and doesn't think anything of it.
But that being said, I mean, she does like. I feel like Peach went through a moment. Like, she got her head bashed in by a stranger. Like, I would probably do the same thing. Like, eat a sick breakfast. Like, YOLO on my, like, crappy clothes. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm just saying in terms of Beck. Like, she's just so, like, up in the air.
I think she's so up in the air. She's not committal. And I think that's what I didn't like about her in the book as well, is the fact that she's a very, like, airy fairy. Like, lets things happen. She calls things out a few times, but she doesn't do enough to, like, stop it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess until the end of this episode, but like she lets Peach kind of like drag her along.
So they go what? Things. They go shopping, they leave for whatever.
Yeah. So they leave, and at the same time, Joe finally gets to the estate, and he walks through the back door like it's like super simple or something, and then he goes upstairs. And he realizes everybody's not in the house. Right. And he looks at himself in the mirror and he's like, ooh, I look fucked up.
Yeah,
so he has like a gigantic bump on his head. And even in his voiceover, he says, I'm feeling a little woozy. He thinks, he knows that something's wrong with him. So he looks at himself in the mirror, and he finds like Tylenol or like
medicine in the cabinet, probably. Tylenol.
Yes, or whatever.
He has a
some
concussion,
higher drug.
basically. He's like, I have a concussion.
Yeah, he's like, I need to stitch up this thing. So he takes out like a needle and thread,
like a sewn kit,
and he's about to poke it in his head. And then he has this really quick dream, like it's like a dream sequence where he goes from the bathroom and he moves into the bedroom and he sees Candace. And Candace is like, oh, I love this place. It's so nice. So it's kind of like their vacation moment, together, which she was talking about before. And he's like, oh, okay, you want to like have sex? Let's just do stuff. And he like starts taking out her pants or something.
Oh, yeah, true.
And so anyway, then he wakes up. And he's on the floor. So once again, as we mentioned, this man is touched by Jesus himself. Like, how does he
You
pass
just broke
out?
in someone's house. You just passed out on the floor. Lucky that they're not home.
And nobody came home in that time?
Home.
Like, wow, you are so lucky. But I think even in the book, the same thing happens.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
Wow, you are lucky, mofo. So they come right back in, and he wakes up in the like exact same moment.
As the door like opens.
So typical. And he hides, and Beck is like, I'm gonna go take a bath, and so she goes upstairs, and she's like, I'm gonna go into the clawfoot tub, and Peach is like, okay, cool, you're like so classy. So she runs the water, and he's watching her from like the bedroom now, and he's
again,
like,
guys, he's literally like tiptoeing around the upstairs floor because he looks ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just weird
because she's walking into the one bedroom, so he's leaving the one bedroom to go to the other side of the bedroom, but the whole time he's watching her. Like, it's not just like he's like, let me go hide in this closet. He's like, no, I'm gonna watch her too.
Yeah, and
like exactly ridiculous.
And at the same time, Peach is also watching Beck. So
my favorite moment.
So it's Peach watching Beck and Joe watching Peach watch Beck. So and he's hating on her
through the hallway. Yeah.
And he's so insane in what he says. It's actually crazy. It's my best line. So I'll talk about it after. But he's just so, his mindset is so twisted.
What does he say?
He's like, this woman is crazy. I can't believe that she's like in your private area. Like, you need to get rid of her because she's like a psycho. Like, thank God for me, basically. Like, it's such a creepy situation.
Cringe.
Such a weird situation. And then so while he's watching her and he's like, I need to get rid of her or whatever, he really needs to pee. And I also remember this in the book. He's like, I gotta go pee. And then he like pees into a cup and then puts it to the side, and he says like, I'll like circle back for this. Then it cuts to him going downstairs because he's like, yo, this girl's like watching you take a bath. Like, I need to get her downstairs. So I'm not sure why he did this, but essentially he goes downstairs and he slams the door on purpose. And
the back door or whatever.
And she obviously like gets distracted and she goes downstairs and she starts to freak out a little bit. And I wonder if it's just because he wanted to know what her situation was.
Oh, I guess he slams the door just for, like to get her to like leave the bathroom.
Right, but I'm like, you could have done literally anything. You could have like dropped a mug or something that's not as obvious as slamming a door. Slamming a door means that like somebody's definitely
someone's
there.
for sure there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's just it was weird to me. So anyway. She goes downstairs and then she gets so freaked out that she goes to her purse and she pulls out a gun.
Yeah.
And he was like,
she has a gun.
She's like, she's armed, she's dangerous, like she's not good for you, Beck. Like I'm here to save you.
This whole episode felt so cheesy. Yeah. Like it's one thing to freaking follow this girl to Greenwich, fine. You're in the house and like now you're seeing what's happening. So much. Like it's just so unrealistic.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's what I mean. Like it's one thing to even go into her closet and like or hide in the basement. You know, he's like literally like moving around to like see every moment of the freaking day. Like it's so weird.
So she pulls out a gun. He's like, okay, I need to figure out this whole gun situation later. And then right at that moment, the doorbell rings, and Beck is like, what's going on? And
she's wearing some like ridiculous outfit.
So she comes down after. So she's like, don't worry, like just get ready, like come downstairs whenever you're ready. And she's like, it's a part of your surprise. So Peach goes to answer the door and Beck comes down in that dress, which is the dress that she bought for her. She was like, it's so 90s, like it's so like that old school. Anyway, it really was kind of sketchy. Just knowing what happens later on in the episode, you're like, you done this for her, you know what I mean? Like you did it for your own selfish reasons because you wanted to see her in that dress. Like it's weird. And even Joe kind of books it. The thing that kills me dead is the fact that Joe keeps saying things that you would be thinking if Joe wasn't a part of the situation. So like
he's like the voice of us, but he's also a part of this world too, and he's crazy.
He's the reason.
That's the funny part.
It's just crazy. So as she's going down the stairs in this dress, he's like, why would she dress you up like a doll, Beck? Like he's narrating the situation. Yeah, as a viewer, you're like, yeah, that's kind of weird. Like I love my friends, but I wouldn't buy her a dress. Like, whatever. So she comes down and Beck is like, what's my surprise? And this guy shows up. His name's Raj, and she was like, oh hey Raj. From what I remember,
every Indian character on TV's name is Raj.
Raj, an Americanized, and remind me, Raj is not in the books, correct?
No, I don't think he is.
I don't remember him in the books at all.
And I don't know. I don't necessarily know why he was in this.
Me neither, because I looked it up even on IMDb, and he only shows up for one episode, so he doesn't even come back later. He's only signed on for one episode, so I thought that we might have missed him in like another party or something, like maybe the Peach party that happened at her apartment, but that didn't happen at all. Like he doesn't even exist. So, or maybe he did. I don't know. Now I
don't think he did,
because it just seemed like we were supposed to know him, because she was like, "Oh, Raj, how are you?" Like I was like, "What's happening right now?" But anyway, we're kind of out in the dark, just like Joe is, and he's like, "What's happening? Like, who's this next guy?" And that's fine. And they're just chilling and they're having like a hangout session. And while that's happening, Joe's like going in and out of his like mental state, because he's also like still like kind of, he's got a headache or whatever, and he has another memory. This time it's with Candace talking, like just chilling on like on a ledge or something, and she answers her phone and he's like, who's that? And she's like, oh, it's just my brother. And then she puts the phone down.
They're on the washing machine or something.
And then she just like starts playing a song for him again. And then like that's all we see. So then it cuts to Beck and Peach, and Peach is just having a conversation on the side in the hallway, and she was like, why is Raj here? Like, what's this whole situation? And Peach just lays it all down. She's like, listen, I want you to come with me to Paris. I think that you need to get out of your bubble. Like, you're better than this. Like, we can run away together, essentially. And Beck is like, you're fucking crazy. Like, what she's saying is insane. And Peach is like, you don't have to answer right now, but like I think that you just need a fresh start.
And like you can just see on her face, like on Beck's face, like she already knows her answer.
Right.
She's like, that's definitely not what I want to do, but she doesn't say that. She was just like, okay, like I'll think about it. Yeah.
And she's like, okay, cool, I'll think about it. And then it cuts to Raj and Peach and her just chilling out, and they all take like a pill. So it's like pure MDMA apparently. And so they all like take it, and then they're just chilling, and he's like, oh, okay, like this is why I'm here, whatever. And she starts like feeling the effect. She's like, woo, like I'm like feeling like so chill now. And Joe goes upstairs at this moment while they're all chilling in the living room, and he goes to find the gun. While he's going up the stairs, he like loses his balance and like hits one of the keys on the piano.
And I thought for sure, I was like, oh, someone's gonna like book that sound. And then it cuts back to them and everyone's like,
everyone's like just chilling.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I don't get it. Like,
he's literally just like
the stairs don't creak, like nothing. Like he's just flying through the house.
Good. I just didn't. Anyway, so he goes upstairs and it keeps cutting back and forth between Raj just kind of like flirting with Beck a little, being like, what's going on with your career? And Peach is kind of glowing her up now. She's like, her writing is amazing. Like, you should read it sometimes. It's so enrapturing or something. And she says, Beck says something along the lines of, I want to write something about someone who feels like they're on the outside and, you know, the society is this and this. And like Peach makes a joke saying like, you should write about my soccer, and she's like,
cut to Joe.
And Joe's upstairs and he looks in the purse, but it's not there. He's like, oh, and then that makes him conclude the fact that Peach knows that he's there. She's like you must playing know I'm with here. Me, like this is all a test. She's gonna come after me, really and he's losing his mind. And I think he also books it. He realizes how he's going a little crazy, like going a little crazy now.
A little crazy.
You've been just crazy, a little bit more. Bro. So he finds the gun, and I think it's in the dresser. Then it goes over to a point where there's like Raj is smelling Beck's hair, something weird happening, and then they all go upstairs. So while Joe's upstairs, they all run upstairs, and she's like, massage train.
Yeah,
like,
platonic.
Platonic massage train.
Keyword.
Yes. And it's like
he hides under the bed.
It's literally one of the weirdest moments because I'm like,
which was so not believable.
No, not at all.
You could literally see him in the mirror. There's a mirror. Like, I can't. Like, this moment too, I was like, oh my god, this is so stupid. He literally is under the bed, guys. They're on the bed. There's a mirror like on an angle in the corner of the room, perfectly positioned so that he can see them on the bed, but they can't see him through the mirror under the bed. Like, how does that work?
That's not possible.
How does that work? Can you tell me? Because if I can see you, I'm pretty sure you can see me. So guys, worst. Just so that he can see it. They made that
visually. I'm like, okay, I guess it makes sense, but they couldn't even put a little drape on the side of the bed to show that.
And like it wasn't. Yeah, the drape wasn't even coming down all the way. It was like kind of halfway where you could still see Joe.
Right. So while he's under the bed, he has another Candace memory. And I don't remember what this memory is about, but I think it keeps like leading up to something. I just wrote down Candace memory, so I don't know exactly what I said. But
what do you think was the point of him seeing her throughout the episode?
I think it's just him kind of like losing his mind a little bit, but also we get to understand Candace's storyline. I think this is the only time we're probably going to see her is in these flashbacks. So you have to assume what happens to her in this episode, because from what we know, from what we've talked about with or what we know from the encounter that she had
at the house
party, we're assuming that she ran away to Italy.
Yeah, she left her whole life and went over there.
It doesn't seem like that's the case currently. I think it's a little bit more clear in the book, but yeah, by the end of this episode, you're assuming that like something had happened to Candace. So while this massage train is happening, Peach kisses Beck, and she doesn't just like kiss her; she's like really going in on there. She starts making out with Beck, and Beck
but like
interchange
also,
it for a second.
Let's talk about this for a second because it was a very aggressive kiss too.
Yeah.
Because Peach was like kind of behind her.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And then Raj was like in the front.
Moved her like mouth.
And like she like lurked around and kissed her. So it was a very like forced entry.
I'm like, damn.
Yeah, it was no like
Shay Mitchell. She's cute, like a lesbian again. I just realized.
Every show. Like, yeah.
Emily.
Like Emily 2.0. So she kisses her, and I think they like make out for like a second, and then Beck's like, okay, like enough.
She's like, I thought this was like a platonic massage, and she kind of glitches out, and she's like, I thought we were just like hanging out, and Raj is like, no, like, you know, friends I kiss, and like we're just chilling, we're having a time, like everybody's on drugs too.
Like, why am I here right now?
Yeah. And so whatever, she leaves. She's like, I'm gonna go
text Joe, I guess. Oh no, she doesn't say that.
She says like, I'm gonna go chill out or something. I'm gonna eat food, and Peach and Raj stay on the bed. And they stay on the bed
to the morning sun.
And she's like, oh yeah. And then she like finds like a dildo underneath the bed. She's like, let me find it. And he like helps her. Like Joe is like right beside her hand, and he like moves the thing over, and then she grabs. At first, I was
like, oh, like she's grabbing condoms, and then like she grabs his black dildo.
Yeah, and she's like, I found it. And he was like, ready, go, and he's like, oh my, that's different. And then she was like,
she basically like stuffs him.
Anyway, so pegs him. The peg moment. And
but why show that? That wasn't in the that wasn't even in the book, because Raj was not in the book. It's so extra.
It just shows how she's so sexually frustrated that she's like doing everything possible to like whatever. So in that moment while she's like having sex with Raj, from downstairs, Beck texts Joe being like, hey I'm done being mad at you now, like I hope everything's okay. And that's it. He passes out, and he's like,
thank God.
He's like, thank goodness. He wakes up, and he's like, well, that was great. I had to basically spend like the entire night listening to Peach have sex over and over and over again. It's like his biggest nightmare. And he's like, the best thing that got me through it was just knowing that you were like literally downstairs. Like, just chilling. Freak. Such a freak league. And so she goes downstairs too. So but at this point, Raj is gone, and Peach goes downstairs and she sees that all her bags are packed. Beck's bags are packed. She's like, why are you all packed up? And this moment is pretty intense too. So she basically says, listen, I think I'm going to go back to the city. And Peach is like, cool. Like before we go to Paris, like sick, nice, like grab all your shit. And Beck is like, listen, I don't think that's a good idea. I gotta go. Like I don't think like Paris is good for me right now. I want to like follow through.
So like she wants to finish her program.
And Peach kind of keeps pushing in, and she's like, I don't know why you want to stay in like the institution. Like I'm just trying to break you out of it. Try like having a new fresh start. And Beck keeps making the excuse like, listen, all my friends are here, my boyfriend's here. And that's when like Peach loses her mind. She's like
that basic reception like store clerk guy.
Yeah, she's like, have some self-esteem and drop the retail clerk. Like what's your problem? Like Joe is just nothing.
Like all comes out in this moment. Yeah, like everything that she's been holding back, not that she's been holding back, but like her hatred more comes out.
It comes out a lot because she's like, Joe is nothing to you. Like you've only known him for like 0.5 seconds. What's the big deal? And I think her frustration is growing because she's now realizing how little control she has over Beck.
And like Beck is dipping now. She can't even do anything anymore.
Yeah.
So how does the conversation turn from, Beck is not going to Paris, like Lauren Conrad. So how does it switch to like that?
You kissed me.
Let's talk about what the F happened last night.
Yeah, so she's like, also like I just feel uncomfortable what happened last night because like you kissed me, and Peach is like, I don't know what you're talking about.
So another great Shay Mitchell moment. Another great Shay Mitchell like come through moment. Yeah, her acting in this. In the next 2 minutes was amazing.
I loved it because I feel like it's something that a lot of people who are in denial of their own, like it reminded me almost
but a little bit more. I feel like she's crazy.
She's crazy, and she's also so in denial of like herself and her identity that it was very much like her. Do you remember the end of American Beauty? Spoiler alert if anybody hasn't watched a movie from 1999, but it's that moment where like they're in the garage and he gets mad at the guy for kissing him, and like he turns around and he's like, what are you doing? And he just gets angry. It's almost like this reverse homosexuality, like the shame that comes with that. But yeah, Shay Mitchell played it really well.
It so well. She's like, what are you talking about? She's like, we were both rolling last night.
Yeah, and she goes in even harder
and I think when you contrast it with the way she kissed her, you can see it right there. Like it was 100%. Just like we're all like kissing each other on the bed. It was like she went in for that kiss.
And you're not like when you're on drugs, you're not like, you don't like have you don't have amnesia. You feel a certain way.
Of course.
So Peach literally blatantly like looks at her in the face and she was like, you kissed me, take responsibility for yourself and your own actions, like be
everything
a grown adult.
Everything is always someone else's fault, and then it's always you.
She literally
like she turned everything on her.
She turned it all the way around, and Beck was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like freaked out. I don't know why we're getting to this moment where you're yelling at me. And Beck's like, listen, I'm gonna get an Uber. Uber's here. I'm gonna like leave now. I'm leaving. And Peach gets angry and she was like, I do so much for you. Like, I love you. I would die for you. Would Joe do that for you? And then Becca's like, I'm peacing out.
And again, Joe's like right around the corner, like watching all this happen, and no one can see him.
And also he's like, yes, I would die for you. Yeah, he's like,
I would die for you.
Of course I would. And she's like, you just use people. And then
like
Beck
even
leaves.
until the last second, like she was still yelling at the door.
Yeah.
She's like, you're going to leave for real?
Yeah. She's like, what the hell's wrong with you? So Beck is about to leave. And Joe's like so happy he sees her leave. And then in that moment, of course, he starts to have like another episode where he sees Candace. And Candace and him in this moment are arguing. So he's like, why do you like, let me see your cell phone? Or she's like, give me my cell phone back. And he was like, who's Ethan? Or who's this person? And she was like, it's just an A&R guy. Because in the book, Candace is a musician. And she's a musician with her brother. And I think even in the book, it's not going to be explained, I don't think, any further. But in the book, it turns out that Joe kills the brother first. And he's like, I had to get rid of him. So it's very similar. I think it does happen around the same time as his Peach situation. Because, I think it parallels with what happens to Peach. So he's like, I had to get rid of her, whatever. So it shows how Joe gets angry and jealous, and she brings it up. She's like, you need help. We have issues, and you just keep getting more escalated, and I don't know how to do anything about it. And it's a really cool moment because he's like, I don't want to get angry. And he like kind of lifts his arm, and because it's where the cell phone was, because she's like, give me the cell phone. He's like, no. And he like rips his hand away, and then he stares at his hand, and it's the gun. And you're like, I guess in that moment you're supposed to assume that there was violence that happened to Candace. I don't think we're gonna see it, but my assumption is that's what happened. What happens? I hope you guys also realize that, because if I didn't, then spoiler alert: Candace dies. Like she did. So then it cuts to he wakes up, like he's like awake now, and Peach is like, Joseph, and then he wakes up,
like sketched me out.
And knocks him out, because this never happens in the book. So I was a little gagged, because I was like, they're giving them a moment.
Dream sequence?
Yeah, seriously. And also I was like, why isn't she just gonna kill him now? Like, just go kill him now, because he's such a crazy person. So all this is happening, and she's like, why are you in my house? He's holding the gun, or I guess she's taken away the gun by this point. And he's like, why are you in my house? And he says, I was here to pick up Beck. And she was like, she's gone. She like dipped in an Uber.
Why are you in the house?
Why are you inside of the house, you freak? And she realized, she's like, oh my God, you're my stalker. And this is going back to what I said earlier in the episode, which is Peach is so self-involved that she doesn't even see that it's about something else. It's about her.
Like, my friend's in danger. No, she's like, oh, you're my stalker.
She's like, you're my stalker. She's like, you're obsessed with me. I should have known. Like this is all about like you being obsessed with me. And he was like, think about it. Like, why would I be obsessed with you? Like, why would I be doing all this? Like, she's like, why are you here then? And he's like, why are you here? And that's like their like match made moment, where they both look at each other and are like, we're both here for the same person, and we're both doing crazy things for the same person. And so like Peach finally has to look inside of herself and be like, you're here for Beck. Like, I can't believe you're here for Beck, whatever. And then she says, like, you were just trying to get me out of the way. That's why you hit me over the head. And he's trying to like backtrack a little bit, and he's trying to like bribe her. And then she's freaking out even more because she notices Benji's watch. She's like, why are you wearing Benji's watch? So she's getting scared, and she's getting like, she's holding this gun over his head, and he's kneeling now. He's like on the floor, he's kneeling, and he's like, listen, I found your computer. Fine, I was the one that found your computer. I found all those pictures. So just be like
he's
aware
laying it all down.
That like,
he's like, I have shit on you.
If you do anything to me right now, my associate Paco is going to like let all those things go. I'm like, Paco, really? Like, stop. And so then, okay, pause really quickly. Actually, now I just had a moment. Do you think that him saying Paco's name in that shows that maybe Paco is like a split personality?
I don't know.
Like,
how?
I don't know.
Why?
I just feel like maybe it's his inner child doing crazy things.
He must exist if like the dad beat the shit out of Joe.
It's true.
Like,
I don't know.
Like,
anyway, it's just a quick like passing thought. Anyway, so Joe tries to do the same thing that he did with Benji, which is like, you know, we're even, like, we can walk away from this, like, you'll be fine, because he obviously is in a worse situation than Peach is. And she's like, no, you're dangerous, you can't be around Beck, like, clearly you can't have her around you. And he kind of yells at her. There's a tense situation, because he says to her, like, you're never gonna have her, she doesn't want to go to Paris with you, you're never gonna have that, like, lesbian moment, like, just go to Paris by yourself. Like, and she was like, she just gets more agitated, she's like, stop saying that, and then she shoots, like, the mirror by accident, and he takes that opportunity to run away. So as he's running away, she shoots him in the leg. He falls on the
they run outside,
and he falls on the floor outside on the front lawn, and he
falls down. He's acting like he did on the ground, and then she's like, oh my god, I killed him.
She's like, Joe, and she, like, is kind of standing over his body, and then she turns for a moment.
Why would she do that? Like call the cops right away.
Why
like,
is this show...
like, you see a dead person on your grass, and then she's like, okay, I'm gonna go back inside and have some carrots. But, like, why? Like, call the cops.
But I guess in that moment she's like also scared because she just killed somebody potentially, right? Like, she killed somebody.
I don't know.
Anyway,
and then the second she, like, turns around,
he grabs her legs, and then she falls. And then the camera pans up.
I love the way they did this.
Do you?
Yeah, I really loved it, because I don't think I'd want to see him shoot her in the head. You know, it's funny because before too, like, I was like, you guys were missing all these moments where, like, especially when he hit her over the head when they were running. Those are different. I think this is so final, and it's the end. So I just love the way that they panned up to the sky.
Right.
You hear a gunshot, and for the next few minutes, you don't really know who could have been shot, but obviously, like, you know that, like, it's Joe shot her.
Dear friends, and it's her voiceover. So before we move away from this moment, though there's one big difference that happens in the book. In the book, she still keeps running. Like, so even after the attack that happens in New York, she keeps running while she's at this estate, and he sees her running every morning on the beach. And instead of having that whole showdown moment, which we got to see, he just attacks her again. He attacks
her there,
and then he actually, like, finishes the job. He, like, hits her over the head, and he makes sure that she's actually dead. It's very violent in the book. I think he's like, he smashes her a few times to make sure she's dead, and then he fills her pockets with rocks, and then he throws her off like a boat. So it's like a full situation.
I guess they didn't want to get out into all of that.
I don't think
I did love their confrontation too. That's what I mean. Like, I wanted to ask you,
as someone who read the book, do you think that it was worth it?
This one I loved. This one I love the switch, because I think just having them face to face, you needed that final conversation. Like in the book, they never even had that. Think about it, right?
They don't have any redeeming moments.
She has the realization that, like, he's the stalker, and vice versa. So I think you needed it. I loved seeing them together in that scene. You see how similar they are.
For sure.
And then like, all the way kind of it goes down with, like, the pan up to the sky. Like, I love that.
I think I will agree with you with everything except for the pan up to the sky. I felt like it was kind of like Lifetime. Like, it felt a little Lifetime. But that's what I mean. Like, I just feel like it's one of those things where if it was on Netflix or if it was something that was a little bit more edgy, we might have seen it. That being said, do I want to see violence against women like left, right, and center? Absolutely not.
No, but so I think for this one it was okay. I felt like it was fine.
It's not as, like, I don't want to say this insensitively, but, like, it's almost like I want to see how people feel about a character where you don't see the innate violence in him, because I think that he's not supposed to be a likable character. So yes, panning up and hearing the gunshot,
so you're saying they're choosing not to show his violence, that they like him more?
I don't think that that's the situation. I think that that's a potential end result of the fact that they don't show the violence. Okay. Like, I don't think that they're doing it to make him seem like he's innocent, but I think that it's a byproduct of the fact that because we don't see the violence, because we don't see the attack, we don't feel as like, oh my God, he's so harsh. You know what I mean? Like,
if you saw him bash her head when she was jogging, like, you see it for sure. You see it, and
you'd feel, like, viscerally upset about it. Whereas even when you were reading in the book, and the second time where he does it on the beach, I remember reading that moment and I'm like, that is some brutal ass murder. Like, the first time he did it, I think you feel the same way that they showed it, where he runs away and he's freaking out about himself, and he's like, yo, like, I just, like, hit her, I think she's dead, like, you know, like that moment that we saw last episode. But when you read it in the book, I think that deliberate action and the fact that he even made sure the second time to make sure that she was dead, smashing her again. Like, it's not like I want to see it, but it's almost like I want to know that he's doing everything deliberately. Whereas in this situation, he had a struggle with her. They were kind of on an even playing field, and then he just won. Yeah. Versus she had as if she had a fighting chance. But it's almost like, I don't know.
Here's the thing though, right? Like, if Peach in that moment said, we have a deal, let's both go back to New York and act like this never happened, would he still have killed her?
Yes, I think so.
You think so?
Or he would have been very weary of her.
Because that's a very important like point that you're making too. Like, in the book, the way he killed her by the water was like planned murder, planned, like, I'm coming here to kill you, watching you like jog every day so I can kill you.
Yes.
This one didn't feel like that as much. This one felt like he got caught. Yeah. He tried to make a deal with her. Whether I don't know whether or not he was like honest about that deal, like if he was just gonna walk away, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I just feel
it's like he's like in the middle a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know how I feel about it. I just don't know if I feel 100%. I would love to know everyone else's thoughts. Like, do you guys get that feeling of this man being a dark character? Because I think that he has too many redeeming qualities.
Here's the thing. Now. I think he's still a fucked up character.
For sure.
The way he killed Benji and like seeing Benji's face. Right. I really think that it's something to do with like the violence against women. I don't think they're okay to show that. Because with Benji, they showed everything pretty much. So it's still there. But yeah, I don't know.
It's an interesting, anyway, I just want to know how they're all going to wrap it up, because the violence doesn't end here. And I just think that it'll be interesting to see how they wrap up his character, if they make him feel like a bit of an anti-hero, or I really want to know you guys' thoughts. That's been our question
from the beginning, really. Like, knowing that this is going to go into a second season about Joe, P.S., they're going to have to make him some sort of anti-hero, I feel like, to make him likable in some way. Right. Otherwise, why the hell would you watch it?
Right. Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to go on a bit of a rant, but I'd love to know your guys' thoughts about it so far, to see if you guys really feel that he's a villain that we should be having in the story. So anyway, cutting back to that, it cuts to all these it's a bit of a montage. It shows people picking up the body. The police are in the estate.
And so she basically stages her suicide, right?
He stages her suicide. Yeah. He stages it, She's like, dear friends, like, you guys all saw this coming. I didn't want to take the second chance. It's a very well written.
It was very well written. Note. Very.
And she was like, peace and love, cosmic world, whatever.
See you on the cosmic highway or something. It was so cute, actually. It was kind of sad. Yeah.
And so he's like, nailed
it.
He
should be a writer.
Yeah, okay. And he gets his plates run, right?
I think in the end the cops all are at the estate, because it's a huge estate and everyone's gonna be there. And the cop walks in and he dials in. He's like, check that license plate that I gave you or whatever. Yeah. And the girl's like, no, it's not stolen. She's like, it's just from this guy in New York.
So he books it in that moment. Yeah. He's like, okay, cool, thanks. And so it also shows them going through the house and like investigating and putting markers down. And it shows like a close-up shot of like his pee in on the cupboard.
Ew, I missed that.
So that's also like a little clue, and I wonder if that's going to come back to bite him in the ass as well. We'll see how that goes.
What an idiot!
And then I know, honestly,
in a bottle.
He's such a weirdo. And then he goes to visit his neighbor, because remember, he got shot in the leg, and he's like, I'm going to call in a favor right now. So I guess that's the only reason why we see Paco's mom this entire time.
And she's like, what, a nurse? I guess
she's a nurse. So she helps him out, and while he's getting help from the mom, he gets a text from Beck saying Peach is dead. She's like, oh my God, Joe, Peach is dead. And then
she did
it kind of shows him going through like the funeral.
What did he say about like, she's been dead for like 4 days now and he only messaged me now? Did he say that?
Oh,
he says something like that.
Yeah.
Because another thing too was like, she didn't ask to see him for like the next 4 days.
Right. Yes, I do remember that.
Hello, she'd be like, why do you have a bullet in your leg? Like,
right. Yeah.
Which is it was so weird.
And so she's mourning him, and he does kind of say, he was like you were so distracted that you didn't even notice my like new injuries because you were so sad.
Well, they haven't seen each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he goes to the funeral, and then he drops her off at home, and she's like really sad. And then as he's leaving, he's looking a lot better, by the way. Like his eyes not as broke up anymore. And so she's leaving, or he's leaving, and then she's like, "Can you please stay?"
Yeah.
And then the episode ends.
It's cute. So now with Peach out of the way, like I don't really know what's. Well, I know, but like.
Well, we know.
Yeah, but what's next for Joe, and like what other obstacles he's gonna have to face?
It'll be very interesting to see how they let it all play out, because we're halfway through the season now. We're episode 6. There's 10 episodes, so it'll be interesting to see how they wrap it all up.
Yeah.
Let's get into our
recap roundups.
Best moment. My best moment was the moment where Peach is watching Beck and Joe's watching Peach watch Beck. Yeah. I died. I was like, this is the best shot you could think of. Like
so
it just shows the whole dynamic in one shot.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. It was really, really cool. It just shows that they're both very crazy and they're both just as stalkery as anybody else is. And like, and Beck is like the pinpoint.
Yeah.
She's like the purpose of this all. For sure. My best moment, I think it's a toss-up. I think it's between Joe and Peach's showdown, because that's something that we didn't get in the book. So I was really interested to see that whole dialogue, the kind of the reveal and how everything kind of laid out after. I also do love Peach and Beck's fight at the end of the episode as well, because I just think that moment was really powerful for anyone who's struggled with their sexuality and had to hide it for years and years and years. And you know, I feel like it's very relatable the way that Shay Mitchell wrote, acted it out, and I think the writing was very good. And it just goes to show that, you know, sometimes you have a poisonous relationship in your life and you don't know how to get away from it. She thinks that she's helping her.
Crazy. Like she's a little crazy. Like she needs help too. Like it's not a normal situation.
She definitely needs therapy. Spoiler alert.
WTF moment. My WTF moment is gonna be that moment with the showdown between Peach and Joe.
Okay.
Just because I was so shook that it happened. It doesn't happen in the book, obviously. So I was like, what? And I love how the show can spin certain moments.
Yeah, for sure.
I always invite that. I'm like, it can work, it might not work.
Right.
So far we've seen it where we haven't liked it, but this one scene I loved.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely needed that like showdown.
For sure. My WTF moment is Joe getting his leg fixed up, because I just feel like that was an extra thing to have to see. I still have no idea why.
And add that to like the list of all the other like unbelievable things that happened in this episode.
For sure. I just feel like literally like Joe's been touched by Jesus and he gets away with literal murder. So I just don't know why he seems so lucky in everything that he does.
Apparently the bullet didn't go into his leg, it grazed his leg. I was like, oh, okay, thanks for telling me that.
Like, why didn't you just stitch that shit up? You were about to stitch your face up. So
MVP. My MVP, and like honestly this is the hardest thing to write for the show, because I just hate everyone basically.
Everyone's
I'm gonna say Beck because I honestly like ripped her apart last week, but I'm gonna say Beck just because I think in the end she does have a strong moment where she's like, Peach, you're crazy, I'm not going to Paris with you. I still have my life here, I want to continue my story here in New York, and I'm gonna go do that. So I respected her for that one moment.
RSPCT. Okay. My MVP is going to be Peach / Shay Mitchell. I think that her acting was fantastic in this episode. Like I said, I'm a sucker for that moment with her and Beck at the end of the episode. I think, and I also think that she tried her best as a character, as Peach. She tried her best to do what she could for her friend, regardless of the fact that she's literally like obsessed with her. I think she does what she could to try to bring Beck to that next level and want to push her to be a better person. It's just,
but how she like sets her up in every single moment.
She sets her up, but at the same time
no, I don't feel like there's any genuine thing to that at all.
Fair enough.
She's crazy. like even her talking to that guy
from last episode.
Like he was so.
She sets her up.
She sets her up to
selfish.
fail almost. It wasn't even to set her up for her to succeed.
True.
I don't know.
I do like the standoff between her and Joe, and that's the fact that she was able to like smash him in the head and like have her moment. She didn't win out of it all, but I don't know. I like Peach.
No, her ending definitely was strong, 100%. Like she was my MVP if I didn't choose Beck just for that moment, because she does end off strong in the book. She doesn't get that. She gets murdered on the beach. So like at least in this story, she has like somewhat of like a not
a little goodbye.
LVP.
Oh my god, my LVP.
Yeah.
Ugh, I don't know. Maybe Paco and his dumbass family. Because I don't know. unless this kid ends up saving this guy's life from everything, I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't know why they're in this story.
Yeah, he's just so pointless.
Even his mom too. Like, thanks for the brownies and what?
Thanks for like
go leave your man. How about that? Like, don't make me brownies. Go leave your man and take care of your child.
Which I think she says that she does do. She's like, yeah, he wasn't good for.
But even then, he didn't believe him. He's like, he'll be back.
Yeah. You know how I feel about that family, but I'm not going to talk about them today. I'm going to talk about Joe. I think that Joe is the LVP this episode because I think that he's crazy. Jiao. Joe's crazy, and I think it shows how far he's willing to go for Beck in this episode specifically. He's insane, and he murders his friend. Like I don't even know how much more to spin.
Also, like, it's so funny because like he has Beck. Like, he's fucking her. He's her boyfriend. Like, she's with you. She's just not with you in this weekend. Like, she went with her friend to take care of her. Like, why are you sketching out?
Why are
you
freaking out?
It's not even that like she thinks Joe's weird or like doesn't talk to him. Like, that I would understand. And he goes there and like does all the shit. Like he has her. So like, what's the issue here?
Like, taking the fact that Beck leaves on her own accord from the estate. If he didn't get caught by Peach, then he like would have left scot-free. You know what I mean? Like, he would have been like, oh, my Beck Alicia, she's so amazing. Like, I'm just gonna go back to New York and she's gonna like be in my arms. He's gonna be happy. Yeah. But they made them meet each other in this episode, which they don't do in the book, because as we mentioned, that was a very diabolical plan that he had set up when he went to the estate. He went to murder Peach. So for him to like by chance have a like Candace moment while he he's watching Beck leave, and then Peach catching him in a Candace moment, it just feels like they set them up to have that encounter, where I'm like, I don't know. I feel like you're making it seem like he didn't do that on purpose. He definitely did that on purpose in the book, and it makes him look less it does. It makes him look more innocent than he really is in the book. You know, he's a lot more evil in the book for sure. So, yeah.
I agree. The best line.
What's your best line?
My best line is nothing. I don't have a best line.
Nothing. There were a few. I like the fact that the writing was really good in that one part where Raj is asking about writing and Peach is like, or Beck is like, I want to write a book about a person who feels separate from society, and then Peach is like, you should write about my stalker, and then it's like, sure enough, like it's like Joe.
Look, the writing is amazing. I have to say, like, even in the book, her writing was amazing, and even in the show, the way it's translated over, their script has been on point. It really has. Like, even Joe's monologues, I love them all. The writing is very witty, it's very smart. Love it.
You're like, but I don't know. But I don't know that song. My best line is when it's your favorite moment where they're watching each other watch each other in the bathtub, and he's watching Beck change out and get into the tub, and he says, I want to give you a life this grand someday. God knows you deserve it. And then Peach comes into the scene and he says, minus the unwanted pressure of an obviously unstable, obsessed person, of course. And it just made me laugh because I'm like, you don't even hear yourself. You literally don't hear yourself. You're insane. So that's it.
I love the way how, like, even at the end when like she put Beck into the bath, and then she like walks away, like Peach walks away, and then she's like, wait a minute, I'm gonna go spy on her, and then she turns because I was like, what is she thinking? Like, she left something in there? Like, what happened? Like, even I can't get that crazy. Like, I'm not even thinking like that. I'm like, oh, she left something in the bathroom. She's like, no, I'm gonna go spy.
She gonna check her air.
Like, you guys are crazy.
100%.
Like, they should be together. Peach and Joe. Imagine
if she wasn't lesbian.
And she wasn't dead. That
is the episode, guys. Let us know what you guys thought about it. It was a crazy episode.
I really want to know, like we were saying in the beginning, like, do you guys feel like it's going way too fast?
Are you getting just enough?
Are you just getting just enough? Like, what else do you think is going to happen at this point? Because we're only really halfway through.
Yeah, for sure. There's still lots to come. In terms of plot points, but it is going to, I feel, accelerate the F out, just like it has been this whole season.
Do you guys need to see Joe get more fucked up?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good question. For sure. Do you guys agree? Do you think that he's a little too likable right now? Let us know in the comments below. And make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Thanks for listening. Bye.